Well, it's a big weekend. We've got the college football bowl and playoff thing set. So now it's a big awards week. And one guy who knows all about this week, 1996 Heisman Trophy winner. He is the namesake of the Danny Wuerffel Trophy. Of course, we were talking about Danny Wuerffel is here with us right now, former NFL quarterback, Florida great, and doing some amazing things in our community. Danny, welcome to the show. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, great to be with you guys.
Yeah, I want to start with first off, get us caught up on some of the things that you're doing that doesn't involve football. You've done a thing with ministries now. I know you grew up in the church, inspired by your dad. Tell us about some of the things that you've got going right now in the Southeast.
Yeah, well, Desire Street Ministries, I started volunteering with in New Orleans in 1997 as a rookie. I joined the staff in 04 and became the director in 06. And we work in under-resourced neighborhoods, primarily in the Southeast. We partner with heroic leaders that have already moved in, lived there, doing incredible work, but often don't have the training, the resources. You know, when I think about my football career, Coach Spurrier really, I wouldn't be here talking to you with it not someone had invested and taught and developed me. And so Desire Street, we partner and work with leaders for 5 years in under-resourced neighborhoods. And we're in the middle of a 5-year plan to impact 20 neighborhoods by 2025. So that's Desire Street Ministries.
Yeah, that is really cool. And I know you're based in Atlanta, but you're, like you said, you're going all over. Tell us about other cities that you're now involved in.
Yeah, we go as far west as Dallas. We've got partners in Birmingham, Montgomery, a couple in Atlanta, Augusta, Georgia, Orlando, Florida. It's really based more on the right connection. We have a lot of people that apply to partner with us. And if it's the right fit, then we're good to go.
So one question, if somebody was wanting to help out, they hear what you're talking about, what steps would they go through, or how would they contact, the Desire Street to contribute or find some way to help?
Yeah, desirestreet.org is our website. You can get all the information there. And especially if you live in a city where we have a partner ministry, there may be some opportunities for volunteering as well. So yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
It's pretty cool. And then you've got the Wuerffel Foundation as well. And we talk about trophies. This is a big week for you guys as well.
Yeah. So many years ago, a group started giving away a community service award for college football. They wanted to name it after me. And I was like, there's already too many awards, so appreciate it, but no. But actually, the former director of the Heisman Trophy sat me down and he said, Danny, this is a community service award and football could really use this. And so we started doing that years ago. It's grown. It's awesome now. We had over 100 nominees of Division I college football players this year. We've got that down to our 3 finalists, which is pretty amazing. We have J.D. Bertrand from Notre Dame, is just a beast of a player and community service. Blake Corum, also running back for Michigan, had a phenomenal career on and off the field. And then Ladd McConkey, the receiver for Georgia. And our winner is going to be announced Friday night on the college football award shows, live and interviewed. And then the winner will also join me in New York this weekend for all the Heisman festivities. The Heisman Trophy Trust wants to honor the Wuerffel Trophy winner. So it's a big week. We're very excited.
And, when you look at that, what are the type of activities that these players do that people don't hear about that puts them in this, rarefied air to be nominated for this award?
Yeah, well, for instance, Blake Corum got involved with the turkey drive at Ypsilanti, Michigan a few years ago. And I think they did, 30 turkeys to families. Well, the second year they did 300 turkeys. And this past year they did 600 meals and they actually go deliver it themselves. That's just one example for Blake. JD, he started putting meals together for people in under-resourced neighborhoods when he was 3 and has continued all the way through. He's in charge of a group called Uplifting Athletes that do great work. And then, like Ladd McConkey, there's probably not a nonprofit anywhere near Athens that he hadn't been to in the last few years. He just got quite a resume of events that he's participating in. it's really built on their body of work and community service. So these three guys happen to be phenomenal football players and great in the classroom as well, but they're really being honored here for their community service. Usually you're either like the best player on the best team and you get press, or you did something pretty stupid and you get press. In this case, we're trying to shine the spotlight on the good things they're doing.
Talking with Danny Wuerffel again, the 1996 Heisman Trophy winner. What does it mean to you? Obviously, your humility comes through in everything that you do. Every conversation that I've had with you, or I've seen you have with others, you deflect the praise. But what's it mean to you to have your name associated with a trophy like this, given to somebody who is doing this kind of work, not just on the field, obviously fantastic athletes, great athletic career, but making a difference in their communities?
I mean, it's pretty humbling. It's honoring. It's a little bit of pressure. I got to really be careful how I'm living my life now that there's a trophy. Usually they don't do that until like you're dead. So I got to be really careful. It's incredible, the group. If you look at the former winners and all the things they've accomplished in their lives, what they're doing now, and these guys again, and it's really, everybody talks about the Heisman fraternity, and that's a really cool thing. We see each other each year, but the group of Wuerffel Trophy winners are a very special group of men, and to be a part of that is absolutely amazing. And I try to be honest with myself. I'm human too. There's like a little middle school kid inside of me that likes to hear my name called still, so I've got to keep that guy in check. But it's a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a awesome achievement. Now, I wanted to pivot a little bit and ask you a couple questions, especially as a Gator. How did you feel about what happened with Florida State in the CFP, and obviously that jockeying of Alabama, and Texas, and what were your assessment of that as somebody who's been involved in college football for a long time at the highest levels?
Yeah, well, it's never been perfect, that's for sure. You go back, I would say three things. One, I feel really bad actually for a handful of teams. I think there were 7 teams that really earned an opportunity to play in a playoff this year. I think, look at the 4 that made it, but you have Florida State, I think Georgia, and also Ohio State, also all on the field played well enough to make it. So I feel really bad for all 3 of those teams that didn't make it, especially Florida State. I mean, that would be a heartbreaking situation. Secondly, I'm really glad that this is the last year of that system. I think these types of conversations, although they'll never ever be perfect, they get better each time. I mean, I remember when different people were playing different teams and just claiming national titles. And then when we finally even went to 4, that was a huge step up. So 1, I feel bad for the teams that didn't make it. 2, I'm glad we're switching it. And 3, I think it was really an impossible decision for that group, that committee. And I think they did the best they could. And I support the decision that they made.
It seems like this was always inevitable. You have 4 spots, but 5 power conferences. So I think it's remarkable we made it this far before we had this level of controversy.
Agreed.
It did take the Alabama LSU crazy BCS title game that we won't get into the history of that to do away with that system. And now it took this. Thankfully, we're about a year too late, but at least it's already in place to move on, which is a good thing. Who do we got to ask? Who do you like in this? I mean, it's like you said, there's 7 fantastic teams. We've got 2 really good matchups with 4 outstanding teams. Who do you like in this to come out in the end?
Man, I don't know. I think any of these teams could pull it out. I haven't seen Texas play a ton, so I really don't feel like I can adequately, know their status. But it's so hard to bet against Nick Saban. I just think this Alabama team is peaking at the right time. They've had their struggles, which sometimes is actually better to kind of go through those early and to kind of get a few games like the Auburn one at the last minute. So I think, they're feeling probably pretty fortunate to even be in it. So, I'm sure the other teams aren't happy that Alabama's there either.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever happy that Alabama's there. But, one of the other things is we see there's some dynamic candidates for the Heisman Trophy this year. Obviously, you've been in the rarefied air of one of the people who's actually won that trophy. How do you look at this year's race?
Man, got some pretty electric players. It changed a lot through the year. If you go back and look at the preseason and after the first couple of weeks and even midseason, there were a lot of different names that were clearly dominating this list. I do think they got it down to the right group that's going to New York. I think all four of these players have had incredible careers. I obviously can't say who I'm voting for. That's something that we honor, but I definitely, as I'm looking at the landscape, it does look to me like Jaden Daniels had one of the most unique years, and many of the odds makers seem to be predicting that he'll be the winner, which is even more special, seeming how his team's not in the playoffs. A lot of times being in the finals at the end draws a lot of allure as well to a Heisman resume. But I think in this case, Jaden Daniels is a front runner, and deservedly so.
Yeah. I've always, all year long, I was really a big Michael Penix Jr. fan. But I think you're right. I think you look at the numbers in comparison, one does stand out from the others. I think we all can agree Marvin Harrison Jr., probably the best player in college football, but may not win this award. But boy, what a future he has. I do want to get really quick before we let you go. Listen, it is rare to get a chance to sit down and spend time with a Heisman Trophy winner. What is the weekend and what is the day like for you? Not just someone obviously who wanted the emotions of that, but again, it's a small, one of the most exclusive clubs anywhere in the world, right? I mean, what's it like to go back each year and be a part of that?
Well, one of the things, there's a lot of autograph seekers because you got all these Heisman winners, and they're not always the most quality. I think a lot of them are selling it basically. So you kind of try to avoid the grown up guys with the greasy hair, but then they started paying kids. So this kid followed me into a bathroom with a Gator helmet a few years ago. And I was like, okay, well, who do you want me to make this out to? Because if you put a name on it, oftentimes it's harder to sell. Well, the kid froze, right? So I thought I had him. So I'm not signing your helmet unless you tell me your name. And he said, I'm sorry, sir. I have no idea who you are. I just saw that you were in that room where Tim Tebow was, and I was going to see if you take my helmet into that room and get Tim to sign it. So that's part of it. I'm probably like the most least famous one in the group, which has its perks sometimes, but it's a great weekend. My wife loves New York. There's a welcome reception on Friday night. We'll go to a Broadway show, and then the TV show is Saturday night. You get to see all the former winners and spouses, and we get to see Coach Spurrier and Jerry, who we love, and it's just a really neat time. And then Sunday's the big banquet, the gala, and just really get into the richness and the history of college football, and sitting in a place where you got guys like Pete Dawkins from 1966, who is one of the most accomplished human beings I know, from his time in Army to being a Rhodes Scholar, to being a general. And he's not the guy that went to the NFL and made a lot of money. He's on Sports Center, but he's part of this tradition, and just an amazing guy. And just kind of go through all the list of these players and getting to kind of be around them, and guys that I, just followed when I was a kid. And it's an incredible experience.
It's awesome. And, there's so much change right now in college football. To me, this weekend, the Downtown Athletic Club in Manhattan, the Heisman Trophy is just one of those traditions that I think we all can kind of hold on to and think about. I remember when this player played, or this player won, or what they did later. And you're exactly right. Danny, we appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your time this week to talk to us. Have a great time this weekend. We can't wait to see Friday night. And of course, for those of us Saturday, we already know the winner. 3 outstanding, and congrats, and God bless, and all the work that you're doing as well. It is, you've always been such a genuine gentleman, and we certainly appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Danny Wuerffel, once again, he's the 1996 Heisman Trophy winner, and be sure to check out what he's doing, desirestreet.org. And again, the Wuerffel Foundation, they're doing the Danny Wuerffel Trophy, and a very deserving young man winning that. And certainly, again, we appreciate his time here. Stay with us. We've got more to come after this. Keep it here.